Have you ever worked on a project where a single user action triggered multiple tasks? For example, when a user registers, you might need to send a welcome email to the user, log the action, and notify all the admins for the newly created users. Managing all these logic in one place can lead to messy and hard to maintain code. But nothing to worry. Here Laravel events come into the play. Laravel events provide a clean and modular way to handle such situation, and by using events, we can decouple our logic, improve code scalability, and make the code easier to test and extend. Hello friends, welcome back to the Programming Fields. I'm Umesh Rana, and in this video, we will cover what Laravel events are, why they are useful, the problems they solve, and walk through a simple example of how to implement them in your Laravel project. So let's start with what are Laravel events. Laravel events are part of its event-driven architecture, and they act as signals or notifications that something important has happened in your application. For example, when a user registers, you might want to send a welcome email, log the registration, and notify admins for the newly registered user. And instead of handling all these actions in one place, you can trigger an event and let different parts of your application respond to that independently. Before going deeper in events, we will have to understand how events work. For instance, when a user registers, you might trigger an event called user registered. This event can notify different parts of your application which then respond accordingly, just like sending emails or logging activity. And events separate the action like user registration from the tasks it triggers, just like sending emails. So this makes your code clean and modular, and also this is reusable. So the same event can trigger multiple responses without duplicating logic. And you can think of events as a messaging system. When someone presses a button in a factory, it starts several processes simultaneously, just like turning on machines and updating logs. Laravel events works in the same way. Next we will talk about the problem without having the events. So just imagine you are handling user registration in your application. Along with creating the user, you need to send a welcome email to the newly created user. And also if you want to log the registration and notify admins. In a typical setup, all these tasks are handled in one method, and your controller becomes a dumping ground for multiple responsibilities. So without having the events, controllers become overloaded with logic, and this will handle multiple responsibilities together. Also, this will be hard to scale. If you want to add another action like sending an SMS, you will have to modify the method again. So this violates the single responsibility principle. So according to this single responsibility principle, every function should be responsible for one functionality, and other functionalities can be divided into separate functions. Also, this is hard to scale. If you want to add another action, just like sending an SMS, you will have to modify the method again and again. And further, when your code is grown up, this will be difficult to test. So testing each individual piece of logic becomes tedious. And if you will take a look to this code example, here we can see, in the first line, we are taking form request data and we are creating a user. Next, we are sending a welcome email to that newly created user. Further, we are logging one activity for newly registered user. And lastly, we are sending notification to all the admins for that newly created users. This code will work, but if you will notice here, your controller is doing too much. Here this controller is totally overloaded with multiple functionalities together. So this is where Laravel events come in. They allow you to move these responsibilities out of the controller, and this will make your code clean and maintainable. Next we will talk about why use Laravel events. The first thing is this will decouple the logic. So by separating actions like user registration from tasks, just like sending emails, your code becomes more focused and easier to manage. Next, this will increase the modularity. So each task can be handled independently, and that will keep your application more organized. Also, you can scale your code. So if you want to add another action, just like sending SMS or notification, just attach a new listener to that existing event. And you can reuse that code So the same event can be used in multiple parts of your application, and that will reduce the code duplication. For example, in an e-commerce application, you might trigger an event called order placed when a customer has placed the order. So when a user places an order, this event could notify the admin, update the inventory stocks, and send a confirmation email to the customer. And all these actions are happening in a very simple way without cluttering your code. So if you will take a look to the working flow of the Laravel events, here we have a registration form. When we submitted, this created one user. So the first event is fired as user registers. Then this triggered the welcome email to the newly created user. Thereafter, this notified all the admins for that user, and also this dumped the log activity. So let's quickly come to the coding example. I will quickly come to the code editor. Here I have a fresh Laravel 11 application setup. Inside this I have created a register.blade.php. If I will show you resources, views, here I have register.blade.php. Inside this I have created a basic registration form. We have a form. Inside this we have a field like name, email, password and phone number. And for rendering this register view, I have created a user controller. Inside this I have written that view, and for this I have a route inside web.php. So I have created a route endpoint as register. Now if you come to the browser, here we have the output of this form. We have the field like name, email, password and phone number. We don't have the submit functionality added at, so we will add that submit functionality. So let's come to the code editor. Inside the register blade, here I will add form action. Inside this I will pass one route to submit this form. So I will pass user.register. Now let's define this route endpoint inside web.php. So inside the route controller group function, I will create one post route register, and next we will have to pass the function name. So I will pass register user. I will specify the route name as user.register. Now let's copy this function name. Let's navigate to the user controller. Inside this, let's create one more function, register user. This will accept the eliminate form request. So we will pass eliminate HTTP request. Let's define the function name, register user, and let's accept the request. Alright. Now inside this function, I will add dump and die $request all. So I will check the form request data. Now let's try to submit the form. So firstly I will fill up the form, test user @test.com, password and phone number. Let's submit. Yes, we are getting the form data here. Now let's register this user. So we have the user model. Here we have the fillable property as name, email, password. I will add phone number, and respectively we will have to add this in the migration. So inside the database migrations, we have this create users table. So after the password, I will add phone number field here. This is done. Now I will re-execute the migrate command in order to dump the newly added column. So I will come to the terminal. I will type php artisan migrate fresh. Migration have been executed. Now let's come to the code editor. Inside the user controller, here I will import the user model. As of now, I am not going to follow any design pattern. This is just for the demonstration purpose. If you want to follow the design pattern, you can check out that playlist, because in our design pattern playlist, I already covered up several design patterns, and before proceeding the register functionality, we can add a form validation here. So I will use request validate function. Inside this I will create one array, and let's define the form validation rule here. Name, required, email, required. It must be valid email address, and also we can add unique, and this will check from the users table, and we have to check it from email column. Next we have password. This will be required, and we can add min as 5 characters. Next we have the phone number field, so this will be required, and we can add digits to be 10, and in the input field we have the name as phone, so let's update this to phone number. This is done, and let's display this validation error message to the form. So we'll come to the register.blade, and here after this input, here I will add error directive. If error has name, then inside this error directive I will add one paragraph element, and I will display the message. Same thing I will add it for email, password, and phone number. Yes, this is done. Now let's come to the controller again, and let's capture this validated data in a variable as validated request. Now next we will have to insert this user. So as of now I'm going to import that user model here. Create function. Inside this I will pass this validated request, and let's import the user model. Let's capture this register user data in a variable as user. Okay, and let's add a dump enti $user. Let's come to the browser. Let's refresh. Okay, the user has been registered, and here we have dumped that newly created user. Alright, this is fine. Now in the next step, we have to send a welcome email to the newly registered user. So we have to create a mail class. So I will come to the terminal. Here I will create mail class using php-artisan make mail command, and let's provide the mail name as welcome mail. Let's hit enter. Mail class has been created. So let's come to the code editor again. Inside the app we have the mail directory. There we have the welcome mail class. Here let's define one variable as protected $user. Let's capture one parameter as $user. Now next let's assign this user parameter to this protected variable. So I will write $this user is equals to $user. Okay, and here we can customize the subject. So let's modify this to welcome mail for user. Now under the content function, here we have content as view name. So this is returning a view. So here we can pass email template on which we want to render the email content. So better I will create one email blade here. So I will come to the terminal, and here I will create a view using command line itself. So I will type php-artisan make view welcome mail. Let's hit enter. Yes, inside views we have welcome mail blade. Let's check out that. Inside views we have welcome mail blade. So let's define the email body here. So inside the paragraph element I will define hey, and here I will pass the username. So I will pass $user name. It will come dynamically, and we will have this paragraph closing. Let's add one br tag. Again I will open this paragraph tag. Inside this I will pass one message as thank you for signing up with programming fields. Let's add one more br tag. Best regards, team programming fields. Okay, so here I have just customized a welcome email with a custom message. Now inside the welcome mail class, here instead of view.name I will call welcome-mail. So this is our view name. Now inside the user controller we will have to call that welcome mail class. So after creating the user, I want to send the welcome email. So we will have to call that welcome mail class here, and for that I will be calling mail facade here. So inside the mail facade we will have to trigger the email to that newly created user email address. So I will call the to function. Inside this we will have to pass the user email address. So I will pass user email. Thereafter we will have to call the send function. So inside the send function we will have to pass that mailable class. So we have the mailable class as welcome email. So we'll call it through new welcome mail. And inside this mailable class we will have to pass one argument as $user, because I have captured that username inside that welcome mail template. Or we can pass this specific name field only. This is fine. Now let's come to the welcome mail, and here let's change this variable name to username. Okay. And inside the welcome blade let's change this variable to username. This is done. Now let's navigate to the controller again, and let's add one if condition. If we have user created, then only this will trigger the email. And let's capture the response here, and I will keep this dump and die inside this if block itself, and I will display $response here. This is fine. Now in order to send the email we will have to configure the email credential inside the .env file. So let's check out to .env file. Under the email configurations, let's configure this email settings. So for sending the email I will be using Mailtrap. So I already have the Mailtrap account, therefore I will copy the credentials from there. So let's update this mail mailer to SMTP, and this mail host will be sandbox.smtp.mailtrap.io, and this mail port is fine 2525. Let's add the username and password. So I will copy this username and the password as well, and I will update the mail from address as team@programmingfields.com. This is done. Now let's come to the browser. Let's refresh the application and let's try to register one more user. So I will create one more user as Umesh, and here I will pass email address as umesh@programmingfields.com, password, and I will add phone number 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Let's click on submit. Here it said undefined variable $username inside welcome mail. So let's fix that. Inside the welcome mail we have defined protected username. So let's change this to public $username. So this can be easily accessible inside the welcome blade. Let's reload now. Okay, so that user has already registered. So we will have to register it with another email address. So let's change that. test.com, phone number. Alright, let's submit now, and this is triggering the email. So let's wait for a moment. Okay, yeah, we have received the success message. If we'll come to the Mailtrap mailbox, here we have the email received. This displayed the username and thank you message. Now at the same time we will log the activity and we will notify to admin for this newly created user. So let's implement those functionality inside the code editor, inside the controller. After sending the email, I will add log facade and I will dump the log as new user registered, and I will pass username with name and email. Let's concat the email address. Okay, and further I will notify the admin. This is log info, and here I want to notify to admin user. for this newly created user. So firstly we will have to create admin user here. So better we can create that inside user table itself by adding the user type column. So inside the users table, I will add one more column as enum. Here I will define user type and this will be default user, and let's define the array here as user and admin. Okay, and let's copy this user type column. Let's come to the user model. Let's add this in fillable property. Now next I will create one seeder for registering the admin user. So inside the name field I will add admin. This will be admin@example.com. Password I will create hash make 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and next we will add phone number. So I will add 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and this will be user type as admin. Okay, this is done. Now I will come to the terminal and again I will refresh the migration. So I will type php artisan migrate refresh, and also I will pass the seed command. So this will refresh the migration and this will seed the database. Let's hit enter. Okay, the migration have been rolled back and this executed the fresh migrations. Further, this seeded the database as well. Let's check out the database. Inside the database.sqlite, we have the users table. Here we have the admin entry. Alright. Now I want to notify the admin user after registering the user. So I will create one notification class and that will be triggered to admin only. So I will come to the terminal. I will clear this and here I will create one class as notification and I will name it new user notification. Let's hit enter. Yes, the notification class has been created inside notifications folder. Let's check out this. Inside app we have notifications. Inside this we have the constructor to receive any parameter and this will be sent via mail. We can change this delivery channel to mail or SMS. Here we have the mail message. This will be default. So we can change this message as hey admin, and let's add one more line here. A new user has been registered to our system with the following details. Alright, let's copy this line again and here I will add name and I will receive this from user object. So I will have to capture that here in the constructor. So let's capture that first, user, and let's define one variable as public $user and let's assign this to $this user. Alright, and here I will pass $this user name. Next I will add for email and phone number. Alright, this is done. And lastly, this will be thank you. Now let's come to the controller and here let's notify to the admin. So I will call notification facade. Okay, colon I will use this send function. Inside this we will have to pass the admin user. So firstly we will fetch all the admin user from the user table. So I will fetch user where user type is admin and I will use get function because there can be more than one admins. So I will store it in a variable as admins and inside the send function I will pass that $admins, and next we will have to call that notification class that we want to trigger to admins. So I will call new user notification. Okay, and inside this user notification class we will have to pass the newly created user. So I will pass the user object directly here, and if we'll come to the new user notification, inside this class I will send it using the queue. So I will implement should queue. Okay, this is done. Now I will come to the browser, I will refresh the application, and I will try to register a new user here. So I will type new user 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. Let's submit. Yeah, this is triggering the email to user, and also this will trigger the notification to admin. So let's wait for a moment. Yes, this triggered the email and notification as well. If we'll come to the mail trap mailbox, here we received the first email to welcome email, but here we have not received that admin notification. Why? Because for admin we have scheduled the email in the queue. So let's come to the terminal and let's execute the queue command here. So we'll type php queue work. Let's hit enter. Yes, this is triggering user notification queue here. Let's wait for a moment to complete this queue. Yes, this is completed. And if we'll come to the mailbox again, yeah, here we received the admin notification. Here we have the admin notification. Hey admin, a new user has been registered to our system with the following details. We have the name, email and phone number of the newly created user. So this is a normal approach where we have written all the functionalities inside the controller itself. Just like we have validated the user, we have registered that user, thereafter we have triggered the welcome email to the newly created user. Furthermore, we have logged that user message, and lastly we sent one notification to the admin user. Okay, so in order to check the log, let's navigate to the storage logs. Here we have the laravel.log file, and we can see we have the log dumped here, new user registered with name and email. Okay, so all these functionalities have been implemented inside the controller itself. Alright, but this is not a good approach. So we can trigger this email thing using the Laravel events. So for that we will have to create an event. So Laravel provides the functionality to create event using command itself. So let's come to the terminal. Let's stop this queue. Let's type php make event, and let's provide the event name as, let's suppose, user registered, because we want to trigger event after registering the user. Let's hit enter. Yes, user registered event has been created. Let's come to the application. Inside app we have events folder. There we have user registered event. Inside the events we have few traits used as dispatchable, interact with sockets and serialize models. So this event can be dispatched in multiple ways. This can be connected with real time using broadcasting. This can be captured using the listeners. Alright. So in the entire episode we will handle the events in multiple ways. So firstly I want to trigger this event when a new user has been registered. So we will have to dispatch this event after this user registration process. So inside this controller we will have to dispatch that user registered event here inside this register user function. And rest, the welcome email, log dump and admin notification functionality will be moved inside the listeners. So event cannot handle the functionality directly, that will be handled using the listeners. Okay, so that we will see in the next episode. So as of now I will just comment these all functionalities from here, and from here if we have the user registered, then I will dispatch the event. So we can dispatch the event in multiple ways. There are different ways to dispatch the event, just like we can call the event function. Inside this we will have to call that event, or we can use the dispatch function. Okay. Also, we can call the event facade just like this, and next we will have to call the dispatch function just like this, and inside this dispatch function we will have to call that event. So we will call new user registered, and here we will pass the user object of that newly created user. Let's import this event facade here, and inside this user registered event, let's capture this user data inside this constructor, public $user. Let's assign this to user variable. So here I will add dump and die $this user, just to check are we able to trigger this event from the controller just after registering the user. I will just commit this dump and die response. This is done. Let's come to the browser. Let's refresh the application. Now let's try to register one more user here. New user. Let's add the password and phone number. Let's click on submit. Yes, we can see when a new user has been registered, this triggered that user registered event, and inside that we are able to dump that user related record. Now from that event we can handle every functionalities like sending welcome email, logging user registered event, and notifying admins for that newly registered user. So all these actions will be handled in the listeners that we will see in the next video. So that's it for this video. We have explored Laravel Events, a powerful feature that simplifies your application logic, decouples responsibilities, and prepares your code for scalability and future growth. Also, we walked through what events are, why they matter, the problems they solve, and a simple step-by-step example to implement them in your project. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button. Your support helps this channel grow and motivates me to bring more content like this for you. This video is just the beginning of this series. In the next video, we will dive deeper into event listeners, in which we will see how to handle events cleanly and efficiently. And further, we will see how we can handle event broadcasting, and we will see that in the real time. So don't miss it. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Until then, happy coding.